Hello everyone. This is a recording I thought of making to let the newcomers to the course module and the students who need more clarifications on the first week and second week's lecture. So you can download this recording and watch the video explanation, which I'm planning to do within a very short period of time. You can watch this and see if there's anything else you don't understand or anything that you need to clarify. So feel free to talk to me so that I can join in another session, a live session, and clarify the rest of the matters. This module, Introduction to Business Information Systems, I should say it is a perfect combination of subject matters related to business as well as information technology. So in this module, we will be learning many aspects of businesses. For example, decision making, management theories, competitive advantage, which comes from the business background, and we will be learning different information technology aspects required for a future manager, types of information systems, their use for different levels of managers, and how they interact in an organization, and what they need to know as future managers, the new trends coming from the technology. So once again, I should say it is a perfect blend of IT and business. So this IBIS module, if you take, it's a good combination of information technology and business. This is why this module is taken by business students as well as IT students. So if I ask you a question, why an IT student should learn business related matters, because IT students will become some form of a technology expert in future. But end of the day, information technology is a key part of any organization in the modern world. Be it a bank, a school, a supermarket, an apparel industry, food processing industry, right? Various industries still use information systems, and they day by day update their technologies. So for those who are going to be IT experts should definitely know business matters like competition, let's say strategic decision making, etc. On the other hand, if I ask why a business student should learn the technology matters, is it's quite clear that any business student going to the corporate sector as a banker, maybe a marketer, maybe a business analyst, or else a business consultant, anybody who goes to the industry from the business background, they cannot get rid of technology. The organizations are already following lot of technology implementations like ERP systems, or they maintain e-commerce websites. So technology is a key part of any uh, medium size or small, medium or large size organizations in the world. So they need to know concepts like ERP systems, maybe networks, maybe e-commerce. Right? I think the point is very clear why IBIS is an important subject for IT students as well as business students. So if I move to some business aspects, starting from what is an organization. So an organization is a combination of many elements, right? I'm starting from organization, the very basic. An organization is a collection of many elements. But basically, an organization contains three things, that is, people. An organization has a proper structure, it is structure, and a purpose, or we call it a goal. So any organization has a set of people who are interacting with the organization, and a properly set organization has a clear organization structure, may be divided into departments, may be divided based on the type of the product, and an organization has an organization goal. So if I take the first element, people. So generally the people, we call them stakeholders. Stakeholders. Anyone who interacts with the organization. Okay? So for example, customers, suppliers, employees who work in the organization. Right? There are many other types of people who interact with an organization. If you consider the structure, there are many ways the structure is set in an organization, sometimes divided by departments, sometimes divided by the product, sometimes divided by the responsibility structure. Right? For example, Unilever is an organization divided based on the different types of products, because Unilever is a multinational organization that has so many products, be it washing powder, be it soap, Signal, toothpaste. So there are many products. For production, there are separate factories and they are divided by country. You know, Unilever has different country offices like Unilever Sri Lanka, Unilever Pakistan, Unilever Malaysia, right? So an organization consists of people, and organization has a deliberate or clearly defined structure. Third one, an organization. Every organization has a purpose, or we call it a goal. There are many intentions of building up organizations. People don't just build organizations for nothing. They want to achieve something, right? Sometimes they want to achieve, not sometimes, but most of the time, they want to achieve profit maximization. They need to earn profits. If they don't earn profits, they cannot survive, they cannot sustain in the industry. Some organizations expect the growth, expansion, open many branches, okay, increase the production, increase their market share. The market share is the amount or the proportion of the market they hold from similar industries. Some organizations provide services, whereas some organizations manufacture and sell goods. Goods are the products. Some organizations cannot achieve any of the three things that I have written. Sometimes they simply want a survivor. That means there are some organizations who are close to the bankruptcy, who are not earning enough amount, enough profits to survive. So they will simply want to cover up the cost, expenses. So organizations can go to this type of a level if they don't perform well. So that we call as survivor. So likewise, there are many purposes for an organization. If you want to know the purpose of an organization, the best resource is to look at their vision and mission statements. So you can have a good idea of the organization. As an example, I would suggest you to go to NCHS website and check on their About Us page. There you have the vision and mission statements. Right? So you can get a good idea what the intention is. Okay, I hope this is clear up to now, that any good organization consists of these three elements. In addition to these three elements, an organization usually is equipped with a business model. Organizations like eBay, their business model is totally online. Organizations like Unilever, their business model is based on different countries they cater for. If you consider NCHS, it's an organization providing education as a service, and their business model is study 1 or 2 years in the country, in Sri Lanka, and transfer to reputed universities around the world. So likewise, organizations have their own way of earning profits. Organizations have their own way of earning revenue and conducting the business. To conduct the business successfully, organizations maintain a business plan. So this plan will tell the people working in the organization how to achieve these business goals and how to run this business model. Organizations that are large enough to expand have business units. As I told you, some organizations divide their business units based on products, like Unilever. based on products. Some organizations divide their business based on business function. Now comes the question. You know the products. Now comes the question, what exactly is a business function? So a business function is a key area that an organization handles. I can call it a description of the work carried out in order to achieve the business goal. So in a typical organization, there can be common business functions. Now, if you consider Navalokha College, you see there's a marketing department, administration department, registration department, accounts and finance department. To manage people, that is called human resource management department, and IT department. Sometimes they are in, let's say, the corporate sector, in a factory setup, you have an operations department, then sales department. Right? So I mentioned a number of names of some departments. Hope you noticed: human resource management, accounts and finance, then marketing, or IT, or we call it management information systems department, then sales department. Sometimes organizations have different names for this department, but the business function is the same. Operations department, and some organizations have research and development, isn't it? R&D, research and development. So these are some of the commonly found departments. I forgot one important thing, that is production department. You can see a production department in the production manufacturing sector. You can't see it in service sector, because like Navalokha College, we don't produce anything. We provide a service. So that service is education. So I want to highlight one thing again, that is, we can find two different types of organizations. When it comes to organizations, we find two different types. Some organizations produce goods and some organizations produce a service or provide a service. Some organizations provide a service. They belong to service sector. If I tell you some examples of departments who provide goods: Unilever, Cargill's, if I tell you NCHS, it belongs to the service sector. Say Apollo Hospital, or Navalokha Hospital. Those belong to the service sector. So we covered a good lot of what we learned in week 1. Only a few things to be covered. I mentioned about business functions. Now you know what business functions are. In another way, you can call it the different departments in an organization, or typical main activities found in an organization. In order to perform these activities, organizations have many business processes. What are these? Organizations maintain business processes. Now, let's take an example of a business function and a business process. So I'm taking the whiteboard again. So business functions consist of many business activities. For example, let me take the HR department, human resource management, where this is where they manage their employees, people who work in the company. So they have many different types of business processes. Sorry, I made a mistake. It's not business activities, business processes. Sorry. For example, they have business processes like recruitment. Maybe another process, payroll management, salaries. Maybe another one, discipline procedures. Right? So you have different types of departments, different types of business processes, leave management. So these are some typical business processes found in a HR department. If you consider, let's say, leave management or say payroll management, they have a variety of activities. So if you consider one business process, it consists of many different activities. For example, so let me say activities. For example, the business activities for payroll management record attendance. Then calculate, say, hourly rate for those who work part-time, on part-time basis, like us for Navaloka College, we work on part-time basis, right? So now you can understand business functions contain many different types of business processes, and business processes contain number of business activities. I hope this is clear. Going back to the business related terms, so there are some common things that any business needs to achieve. I should say an organization expects revenue and profit. So profit is a common thing that an organization expects. But in order to earn profits, they need to calculate their revenue, that is the income, or we call it income. And when you subtract the expenses, we call them costs, you will end up with the net profit or gross profit of the organization. If it is in the manufacturing sector, another important aspect they consider is how to set the price. But when it comes to setting the price, now let's say for example a jam bottle in Kist factory. When you try to set the price, first of all you need to calculate the unit cost. That means the expenditure to make one jam bottle. Let's say it is 150 rupees. Then you need to, if you are a business, if you run a business, you need to decide what's the profit you expect from a unit. Let's say you expect a 50 rupees profit. So what is the unit price set for the jam bottle? Yes, that is the unit cost plus the expected profit margin, which is 200 rupees. Any organization has their own assets. Assets mean what come? The properties, the solid, stable properties. For example, buildings, vehicles, machinery, etc. At the same time, when you run a business, you might need money, and when you don't have enough money, or when you don't want to spend a lot of money from cash or your deposits, you might want to purchase a vehicle on lease, or you might want to take a business loan, or you might want to buy things or get raw material on credit. ණයට ගන්නවා. Right? So any responsibilities like that, maybe loans, leases, right? The items bought on credit or installment basis. Say you take a photocopy machine on installment basis. If you get these things like this, we give a proper name for that. We call them liabilities. Liabilities are the responsibilities. Now let's say, for example, there's an organization who has a total amount of assets. Let's say buildings, vehicles and machinery that is worth of 10 million. But out of this 10 million worth profits, say they have bought a vehicle, but this vehicle is 2 million. That's a lease. That's a leased vehicle. And let's say they have bought a machine on credit worth of 3 million. Sorry, 4 million. How can I still say that the organization's assets are worth of 10 million? No. Why? Out of this 10 million, you can see the total here. The total of 6 million has been achieved or has been bought on credit. ණයට අරගෙන. Those are liabilities. So there comes an important variable. We call it the equity. Equity means the assets minus liabilities. So in my example here, in this example, it is 10 million minus 6 million. That is 4 million. So the organization's pure earnings or pure value of the organization. This is the pure value of the organization, of this organization, is formed here. I hope this is clear. Please don't worry if this is like, if you have any difficulty on this, if you're not unfamiliar, because in IBIS we never have come across a situation that equity calculations is not there in any of the assessment. This is just to introduce you a new term, right? Okay. So when it comes to different types of organizations, as I told you, organizations can be divided into different types based on the product or service they serve to the outside world. So some organizations produce products and some organizations serve to the society by providing services. Another classification of organizations is based on the ownership. So based on the ownership, we find three different types of organizations, but let me clarify without taking it as three different types. I will clearly first divide into two different types of organizations, which will be clearer to you. Limited liability organizations and unlimited liability organizations. You might have seen end of the company names, you have something called private limited or public limited, PLCs. You might have seen Navaloka College of Higher Studies could be a private limited organization. PLC, NDB, National Development Bank, public limited companies, right? So you find different types of organizations, but when it is called a limited, the word limited means that the organization is a separate entity. What is it? The organization is a separate legal entity where they have board of directors, investors separately. So people invest money on these types of organizations and buy shares. So the limited liability organizations are of two different types. One is the private limited organizations and the other one is the public limited organizations. Private limited organizations are owned or shareholders belong to the private sector and they do not sell public shares. I take another color. Private limited is a privately owned organizations by a small set of individuals. But public limited organizations, they sell a small portion of public shares. So anybody like us, we can buy shares. A small segment of their shares are sold to the general public, or the normal people can buy shares. Right? Those are the organizations who are listed in the share market. Unlimited liability organizations do not consider organization is a separate legal entity. When it is unlimited liability, there are two types of unlimited liability organizations. One type, we call it sole ownership, or we call them sole proprietor. This is a single owned. One person is the owner. They're single owner, but the single owner holds entire responsibility. The other type is the partnership. So 2 to 20 people can become partners of a business and run their business. But when it is unlimited liability, the thing you need to remember is business is the sole responsibility of individuals. Business is not a separate legal entity. Business is not a separate legal entity. Right. So we have now come to the end of the first week's lecture. One small thing to complete, that is, what is the market share? I told you some organizations need to achieve a greater market share. That is one of business goals, right? So what exactly is the market share? The company's sales, when you divide it by the total market sales, we call it the market share. Total market sales of entire industry. Let's say, for example, Unilever had annual sales of 3 billion. And the total market share of the entire industry, 3 billion is such a big amount, but I'm just using it as a like figuratively, okay? Out of 3 billion, sorry, but the entire total market share of the entire industry, let's say it is 30 billion. Then, yes, how much is the market share? Whole 3 billion divided by 30, that is 1 over, so that is 1 over 10, so that is 0.1, or else you can call it 10%. So I can say Unilever holds 10% market share, right? I hope this is clear. I'm sorry for my poor drawing, but I hope you understand the fact. So this is the summary of the week 1 lecture. If you understand all these concepts, I invite you, I'm going to share the screen and show what you need to do as your leisure reading. I'm going to share the screen. If you go to your module, that is the TP2 module, you will see there's a section called modules, and the week 1, all the material are available here. First, go to the week 1 lecture, download this lecture and leisurely read this one. Then go to this glossary of topics. Here you can see a list of topics included in the lecture. So you can use this or keep this as your short note. So the words we have learned is already available here. After that, go to reading activity and read this document. This document contains elaborated descriptions about the business terms I introduced you today. Okay, so that is the content of week 1 lecture. Then I'm going to go to the information or the things we learned in the week 2 lecture. So for the week 2, what we are going to learn is the competition available in the information age. Two main words I highlight here: competing in the information age. Right. Competing. What do you mean by competing? Competition. In Sinhala we call it Tarangakaretwe. Any business industry has their market competitors. We sometimes call them rivals. Tarangakare. For example, if I take the Navaloka College, there are market competitors like UCL, like ACB. These are their market competitors. Right. So there's intense, there's a very strong competition. No matter what the industry is, there is a strong, intense competition in the corporate sector. When it comes to competition in the modern world, there's an inevitable word. There's a word we cannot forget. That is technology. Companies use technology to enhance their businesses. For example, Navaloka College has a website. Please go to nchs.lk website and see. Have you seen an intelligent chatbot? There's a chat application. There are videos, promotional videos. There are Facebook pages. There are many ways Navaloka College interact with the society, with the technological society. They approach students through the website. They receive inquiries through the website, or they enable online payments to students. So you can see today's or else the modern world is not a stone age. The modern world businesses are based on technology. They are highly dependent on technology. You can see now at this moment I'm recording a lecture using Collaborate Ultra. During the pandemic, we completely did a successful semester online. If there was no technology, we couldn't have done this. So today's world, we call it is an information age, an age or an era of using information and electronic devices. So when using electronics devices or technology, now the competition gets worse. Competition is such a big problem because even competitors can try out new things using technology. technology is not that expensive nowadays, right? And competitors can get information through the technology. Let's say, for example, a competitor to Navaloka College can log into Navaloka College website and get a lot of information, and we can't stop that. So, can you see the competition has a clear connection? Competition has a clear connection with technology. Competition and technology goes together and we cannot separate them. I hope my point is clear. Right. So competitors and technology, that is the whole point of the second week 2 lesson. So let's get back to the core things in lecture note. As I told you, the competition is now intense. In any typical organization, you commonly see there are three main elements that work together in this information age. You obviously need people to run the business, and you obviously need technologies. I can call it information technologies to handle information, and you need useful information to be stored and handled. So the information technology will support how to handle information correctly. And to run these technologies and to use this information, you need people. End of the day, who benefits from using technologies and information is the people attached to that organization. So these three things are connected together. They work together to succeed a business. So that's the first thing I need to say. Now I need to highlight information. What do you mean by information? So I'm getting back to a clean board. Information. Think of Navaloka College. What are the different types of information held by Navaloka College? Student data, lecturers data, attendance records, your uni registrations, employee data, leave records. So you can have a long list of types of data held by an organization. Some parts of data held in paper-based files, some held in databases. What about your assignments and lecture material that's held in Canvas of SUT, Swinburne University, right? So some are offline, some are online. Right? So you can see data has been stored and processed in various methods. For example, your attendance records are recorded attendance in paper files, and later it is entered by the administration department, entered into a system, let's say, right? Okay, sorry for my spelling. But on the other hand, I can give an example. Your assignments, unit material, held online in Canvas. So Canvas is hosted in Australia, the Swinburne University. So you can understand Organizations maintain thousands and millions of data in various mediums, be it paper-based, be it virtual. So, as you can see, what is data? What is information? Now, usually in our day-to-day language, the word information and data refers to the same thing. But it's going to be different in our module. In our module, information and data has two separate meanings. So I'm going to clean the board. The raw data, what we directly enter into the system, we call it raw data. Or we call it data. So data means the raw facts. These are the raw facts entered and acquired. Acquired means received to the business. And let me use an example in my left hand side. For example, attendance. Daily attendance, let me say, in cardboard files. Okay? But do you know that the daily marked attendance in the cardboard file is just a recording of data? It's simply to record your attendance. But just recording is not enough. Then somebody should calculate your weekly attendance rate, monthly attendance rate, subject by subject attendance percentage. Then only we can identify issues. So my point here is the raw data is processed. Raw data is processed. We can say do calculations, changes. You process the raw data, and when you convert the raw data into some meaningful format, we call it information. When the raw data has been processed into some meaningful format, we call it information. We can say information refers to data that has a meaning and is useful for the organization. Information, in other words, we call it the processed data. Right. In my example, let's say attendance percentage of each class. Maybe monthly attendance of a student. Right? You can give many examples. So you can get different types of summaries of data like this. But what's the purpose if that data doesn't help in decision making? Isn't it? So when you use the, let's say, attendance percentage of each class, sometimes you can identify patterns. For example, some students don't attend maybe theory-based classes. For example, a particular subject's attendance rate is really low. Very low in all the batches. What is that? We are trying to identify patterns, trends, relationships. let's say no matter what the stream is, say mathematics has a higher attendance rate. So can you see, when you look look deeper into information, you can get more and more meaningful insights. So when you look deeper and deeper into the collection of information, you can easily make good decisions. You can find reasons. We call as business intelligence. So when information has been further processed, information, let me say, further summarized, analyzed, then you end up with business intelligence. What is it? Business intelligence. So what is business intelligence? This is a definition you must by heart. You cannot forget this definition, right? Please by heart this definition. When you collect information collected from multiple sources, then they are analyzed into patterns, trends, relationships, and used for strategic top-level decision making. We call it business intelligence. Say something like, for example, let me continue with my example. This is something, for example, the attendance patterns of IT-based modules, or gender-wise, male or female, gender-wise attendance variations. Or else, let's say, the relationship between absenteeism, that means students not coming for classes, absenteeism, and pass rate. Hope you can understand. These are different. These are not just information. They are further and further analyzed and summarized. I hope this slide gives you a very great insight of what is raw data, what is information, and what is business intelligence. I'll be erasing the board. One last thing before I wind up for the day, or wind up in this recording. Apart from data, information, and business intelligence, there's another important word that we call as knowledge. What is knowledge? I can put it in at the top. Actually, I did not have much space, but hope you can make sense on this. So data, information, BI, and knowledge. What is knowledge? We say there are some employees in Navaloka College who are very knowledgeable about what's happening in the business. Knowledgeable. They have a good knowledge about Australian education industry. They have a good understanding, knowledge. So knowledge is the skills, experience, and expertise, isn't it? Knowledge is somewhere beyond business intelligence. So business intelligence can be generated from a system, but knowledge is belonging to a person. So when it comes to knowledge, it's a property, it's a feature, characteristic of people. So it belongs to people. There are three things in the definition for the knowledge: skills, experience, and expertise. Skills, experience, and expertise combined with information and intelligence. So, can you see the knowledge is a combination of all the things? Skills. So, when a person uses business intelligence properly for a long period of time and do strategic decision making, that person become very knowledgeable, combined with information and intelligence. So you can now see where information came from. Now you can relate. Information came from here. Intelligence came from here. Right? That we call as the knowledge. So if I continue my example about attendance, the knowledge, for example, I can say an experienced student counselor, say, I'll give you a name, Amani, has a strong understanding that subjects such as mathematics suit students whose attendance is excellent. So this is just a mere example. Okay, I'm just taking an example for you to understand what you mean by knowledge. Skills, experience, expertise combined with information and intelligence. So someone working for an organization for a long period of time, they usually have a strong knowledge about the Navaloka college system. Right. Then I used a word called a system. What is a system? It's a collection of components. I can say a collection of subsystems. You know, solar system, it has number of planets rotating around the sun, right? We have a digestion system. We have blood circulation system in our body. So we have a lot of subsystems inside that. Maybe nerve system. So the nerve system, one component could be the brain. Then the nerves, signals. There are many subsystems working together. So what is an information system? Now that's a part of our module title. So it's a collection of subsystems working together to properly manage information in a business. This is a simple definition I used for you to understand what an information system is. We can give various examples of information systems. If you take your smartphone out, you can see number of systems are up running in your smartphone. Maybe Pick Me, is a taxi hailing app. Maybe you must be having Keel Super website. So that is a supermarket system. E-commerce. E-commerce means electronically handling online system. Let's say when you say eBay, it's a global sales network. I can call it a network, but it's a system. Right? Facebook. It's a social media. We call it an application, but still it is also an information system. So we already use number of information systems day to day, every day, isn't it? So systems are not strange things in our day-to-day life. They are always already a big part of our life. Three systems come into the play when it comes to learning theoretically what is an information system. The day-to-day operation handling, we call it transaction processing. What is it? Transaction processing. Daily transactions. Like supermarket handle the cashier system. There's a system that runs at the cashier desk. There's a system when you log into the website, you collect goods and make online payments, right? We call them transaction processing systems. But there is a type of a system that we don't see at Keel Super. There is a system that managers use for decision making. There's a system that generates sales reports, charts and graphs, right? So the managers use two types of systems. One, we call it decision support systems, and the other one, we call it executive information systems. Now you might ask, what is the difference between decision support and executive information systems? I would say executive information systems used by top management, board of directors, senior managers of the company, maybe chairman, managing director. So used by the executive level. Executive level is the top level people of the company. So these types of systems have been used by executive level people, or I can call top level management. Or sometimes we call them strategic management. Decision support is used by the managers that are at lower level. We call them low level and middle level managers. Low level and middle level managers use this type of systems. When it comes to transaction processing systems, these are used by day-to-day operators and the low-level managers like branch managers. You can see low-level appears twice, but you will understand that the transaction data are usually supervised by managers. That's why when we go to a supermarket, the cashier can do simply billing, but if they make a mistake, if they want to redeem your loyalty points, then they ring a bell and ask the branch manager. They call the branch manager to operate the system, right? So low level management and operators like cashiers or the day-to-day workers handle transaction processing systems. Now when it comes to transaction processing systems, systems, I'll use a different color. When it comes to transaction processing systems, these data are highly structured as a format. They use structured data as a solid format. But think of the data used by a chairman. Do they need to simply read the data sheets, or do they look at the outside world and make decisions? Their decision type is highly unstructured, and they need unstructured. To make unstructured decisions, they need both internal and external data. Like, let's say, the current interest rate of a bank and the interest rate suggested and the laws related to interest rate given by the central bank. That is external data. So somewhere in between the decision support systems, we say, this is executive systems, and the decision support systems, we say they need not as solid as structured data, not as unstructured as executive data, they need semi-structured data. And they make semi-structured decisions. For you to understand the difference, they need more internal data plus less external data. Like a regional manager. Think of a regional manager of a bank. He is only limited to his region, he or she. So the regional external data he might need, but the chairman of the bank, vice president of the bank, who belongs to the top level of the organization here, but they need the global banking trends, right? They need a lot of external data. I hope this is clear. So children, this is all I have taught in week 1 and week 2 as the theoretical data. So if you can understand up to this point, so you are fully, perfectly knowledgeable, and you are perfectly ready to continue from week 2, week 3 onwards. So the rest of the material is already available under week 2 lecture on 15th of July. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and please feel free to contact me. My contact details are available in the canvas. Let me show you. So my contact details are here. If you go to modules, now I'm at modules, you can see my contact is here. So my details are available: email, phone number, location, and my consultation hours. It will be convenient if you use these hours, right? If you want a separate appointment, you can call me or email me. So please feel free to ask anything, and if you need a separate clarification of this content, I can still do that. So please let me know whether you understood the content I taught in this short video clip today. And as usual, you are feel free to give me a feedback about how you understood the content today. Thank you very much for listening, and have a nice day.